Hello and welcome. My name is Shira Cohen and I'm the host of this podcast and the author of the book called Reclaiming Our Wellbeing. I'm a yoga teacher, yoga therapist, Ayurvedic wellness educator, and emotional coach. So this is a space of sharing stories that uplift, encourage, and transform. So enjoy! Namaste, everyone. So today I want to do a podcast about the heart, about love, about self-acceptance and self-love. And I'm just going to read a part from my book, From the Heart Chakra. And we'll be doing a very simple practice, something we usually do every day when we say Namaste. So Namaste comes from the heart. Namaste, a lot of people ask me, so what's it mean? Why do we do Namaste? And it means the divine or the light in me greets the light in you. So that's what Namaste means. And when people realize that, some people say, so you also believe, you are also in the faith. And I think it's more than that. It's coming to our deepest self. So I've been working with people the last week and clients, and there's this, a lot of people just don't know who they are anymore. There's a lot of self-loss or self-loathing, or just especially when we're going through these phases of transition and you're in that cocoon state where you haven't fully emerged into the butterfly yet, but you're just a big mush. And so the heart chakra is all about this mush. The heart chakra is also the place where we point to when we say I. The heart chakra is about our deepest sense of self in relationship to, and seeing life is relationships. It's one big relationship. The heart is the center of ourself. And to get to the very depths of ourself, and from that point meet life, from that point give, from that point receive, from that deepest part of ourselves to take, to go out into the world, to make changes, to speak from that deepest part of ourselves. That is what yoga is about. That is what every faith is about. That is what values are about. That is what makes us feel good. But if we just seeking to be successful and to make big changes and to make money and all that without actually coming from the deepest point of ourselves, we can easily get lost. So the ship doesn't even know where it's sailing from or where it's sailing to. So that's really important. And I've just noticed that people don't even know who they are anymore because they're not allowed to think for themselves, because they have these upper hierarchies in their work, managers and Uber managers, who just control the dialogue. And these are usually the people who seem to be hired in for these functions, seem to be like psychopathic people. They have no empathy, they have no understanding, they have no life experiences, so they cannot feel or have insight into another person's problems. I'm working with a lot of people with burnout, and so they feel very lost and misunderstood, and then they feel guilty and they end up being these people pleasers and never actually realizing what they want or what they need, or that should even be a thing. So I'm just going to read from my book, The Emotional Continuum of Our Heart Center, which is also connected to the air element. And that's why when we don't feel connected to our heart and we don't have a strong sense of this air element, we're easily lost, because like the wind, it just takes us and sweeps us in all these directions, and there's no landing place, there's nothing solid. So to make connection to our deeper selves is really difficult when we're in burnout or when we're in deep depression or just completely exhausted. Like I'm seeing some young people who are not burnt out, but they are just so exhausted. All they want to do is sleep. And they don't even know who they are. They're trying to stick these labels like ADHD or autism spectrum on themselves. And when you say we don't need more labels, we just need to understand ourselves and understand what's important to us and know what we need, but because we've been ignoring that or taught to ignore that, it's very hard to know who we are. So you want to come back to this air element, which is in and out. That's what the heart is all about. That's what the lungs are all about, in and out, the movement. Give, take, give, take. And where am I giving too much? Where am I not taking enough or taking too much? So the emotions from spaced out to constricted. So starting with shut down, withdrawn, neglected, abandoned, rejected, isolated, anguish, deflecting, angst, depressed, self-sacrificing, hopeful, hurt, grieving, anxious, lonely, suppressed, sorrowful, sad, unhappy, sympathetic, selfless, caring, compassionate, affectionate. So in the middle, when we get to the middle, it's more of the positive, juicy, the center. And then again, we're going to move out. Self-accepting, content, peaceful, empathic, loving, devotional, open, free, generous, welcoming, gregarious, royal, eager, protective, overprotective, repressed, controlling, clingy, covetous, possessive, jealous, judgmental, arrogant, haughty, self-important, self-righteous. So when we have a balanced heart, we are open-hearted, compassionate, vulnerable enough to be loved, lovable, peaceful, altruistic, giving without expectations, content, self-accepting, self-loving, and forgiving. When it's imbalanced and deficient, so this is again too much or not enough. So not enough, deficient air, is lack of feeling of belonging and acceptance, out of self-protection from rejection, abandonment, or dismissal. We isolate and withdraw, becoming lonely, bitter, and cynical. When it's excessive, we become critical, haughty, fearing intimacy, or clingy, possessive, jealous, and distrustful of others' goodness. We expect, want, or seek too much from others, often feel disappointed or let down because of what we expect. And then the prana is the heart energies, about expansive vijnana, governing distribution and circulation of our energy, our life energy. So that's prana, to and through all systems and all layers. So layers of the koshas, so body, energy, mind, soul, psyche. Mama, the mama point is of course the heart, so the midline of the breastbone. There we can massage in circular motions, quite strong because it's quite a strong bone, but it's also sensitive. You might feel when you press in the midline, in the middle of the xiphoid process, I think, or no, the bit above that, and then you press until you feel that sensitive part, and then you just massage it quite strongly. And this regulates cardiac and pulmonary function, and you massage for 3 minutes. And heart rate, it improves coronary circulation, decreases acidity, and calms the mind, emotions, and relieves stress. The archetype is the lover when it's balanced. When it's imbalanced, it's the actor or the actress. And we see a lot of this in our culture at the moment. People are so lost. They're no longer lovers of each other. They are actors. They are pretending. All this Instagram and social media crap. People don't even know who they are anymore. It's a really great way to lose yourself. But it's also, once we lose ourselves, we start to look for ourselves. So the shadow is grief, and the servant or the critic are those extremes of grief. Either we just do whatever someone says, or we criticize everything someone does or says. So the gods and goddesses of this chakra and this heart center. So when you think about your heart center is connected to your hands, and because the arms, the hands, they connect via the collarbones and the, what do you call this? I can't remember, the crow's beak. The end of your shoulder blade connects to the collarbone, and the collarbone connects to the heart bone. So that's how we extend from our heart, extend to the hands. We give and we take. But the arms, when you think about the shoulder joint, it's the most mobile. Like the air element, it can go in almost all directions. It does a 180 in the socket. So it's very mobile. And it's meant to move. Look at how we move these days. We're becoming more and more robotic. The movements we make are less and less. My daughter yesterday was like, oh, why do you always use your hands when you're talking? I was like, it's called expression. You see it a lot in the cultures of Italians and the Spanish and the French. You see it less in the northern cultures where people are constricted, the hearts are closed, and we've spread this culture of closed down movements, closed down expression throughout the world, and it's not healthy. Our arms are supposed to do these things, and by moving in big movements and making these gestures, we're massaging the organs, but also the immune system through all these little lymph glands everywhere, especially under your armpits and the neck and the throat. We have a lot of these lymph nodes that need massaging. When they are massaged, it keeps our immunity strong. When we have a strong immunity, we have a strong sense of self. When we have a strong sense of self, we stand solid in the world. So we're creating this kind of thing, and it's working both ways, top down, bottoms up. We're using our body to become less and less human, less and less expressive, less and less ourselves. And at the same time, we have this way of thinking. Everything is abstracted. We're taking ourselves out of the equation. Nothing is contextual or relationship orientated. And this is making us cold in our head, in our minds, in our bodies and souls, in our heart. There's no feeling anymore. There's no empathy. Everything's too much. So we just compartmentalize everything. We break it down. This is again that left hemisphere from Ian McGilchrist. I finally got his book, so I'm getting more and more into this so I can integrate his work into the way I work, and it's going to be much more effective than it already is. So the deities, the goddesses and gods is Tara, Krishna, Radha, Ishvara, Kama, Bhuvaneshwari. So Kama is from the Kama Sutras, what everyone knows Kama Sutra. Kama is about, he's like Eros, desire. We don't have desire anymore. Look at our young people. Do you ever see them kissing on the street passionately? No. So where's that going? Bhuvaneshwari, she's the goddess of the Mahadashas, the 10 wisdom goddesses. Indra, which is the god of the sky and the air. Aphrodite, Eros. Asclepius, I don't know who he is, but I've got him in here. Isis, Christ, Timur, Kuan Yin, Guinevere, and Damara. So the traumas associated to our heart, excuse me for the noise, they are making a building site of this house where we're living in. So the traumas are rejection, again, heartless people. This has been going on for like 10 months. Because the man wants more money. Rejection, abandonment, loss, constant criticism and shaming, unacknowledged or unresolved love, including, I'm just going to pause because the noise is horrible. So unacknowledged or unresolved grief, including transgenerational grief, enmeshment, divorce, death of loved ones, conditional love, growing up in cold, loveless environments, betrayal, sexual and physical abuse. So when our traumas have been deficient as in we weren't getting enough, we become codependent we have poor boundaries, we're withdrawn, depressed, isolated. We feel lonely, fearful of intimacy, fear of relationships, lack of empathy, or we're overly sacrificing. So it can go either way. Excessive when someone has gotten too much love and protection, like antisocial, demanding, doubtful, controlling, clinging, jealous, critical, judgmental, intolerant, selfish, and narcissistic. So the addictions are tobacco, sugar, love, and marijuana. So psychological qualities. Psychologically, our heart is about social identity. We innately know love is our birthright, want to feel loved, accepted, and give love. Self-acceptance is a path of persona, peer, family relationships, and social belonging. Between the ages of 3.5 to 7 years old, our heart's goals are finding balance, self-acceptance, and good, healthy relationships that lead to self-love. The split we need to create self-identity in the first chakra I'm talking about, and define me from we through sacral and navel development of the first 2 chakras, can now emerge with other through seeking love and being loved. We intuitively point to our hearts when speaking of I. The relationship between arms, shoulders, and heart energy and consciousness echoes of our ancestral wings, the experience and expression of freedom. Lifting arms above shoulders and head awakens our heart energy. It uplifts, expresses, and expands us. Like a child that reaches for a parent, we reach for the sky to grow and to be inspired by something greater than ourselves. How often do we think of something greater than ourselves? The in and out of the lungs and heart moves us between 2 states of opening up to new experiences and returning to our inner sanctuary. A toddler moves away from a parent to explore, always to return to that refuge, to rest, digest, and grow. On a physical, emotional, mental, social, spiritual, and cultural level, we do the same through our heart center again and again, until we integrate, extract, and distill the nectar from any experiences, the glorious, banal, and the atrocious. Repeated experiences of being let down, rejected, abandoned, or neglected make us feel unlovable. Love persistently withheld starts a catch-22 of denying or avoiding letting love in. And so we shut down, withholding outward love, flow of love for fear of rejection, instead of withdrawing even from ourselves, such as in the case of depression. A deficient heart energy desires and needs to feel safe enough to open up to closeness and intimacy, to be bathed in the warmth of love. Just as energetic currency influences our psychosocial affluence, social currency influences our relational affluence. Self-care is essential to self-acceptance and self-love. Ignoring biopsychosocial states from an early age predisposes us to heart issues. Insensitivity to our grief, an innate need for emotional connection, leads to tissue disorganization. So I split that word, disorganization, because it is the sation, the throwing, the sewing of ourselves in small clusters, organs, and dysfunction via the PNEI axis, which is the psychoneuroendocrino-immune axis. Biopsychosocial sensitivity requires me time, emotional awareness of the subtle undertones and energy states to self-regulate. It's our heart we find acceptance of. It's in our heart we find acceptance of self and others. Our navel journey of self-discovery and definition culminates into identity and lands as self-acceptance in our heart. becoming able to respond rather than react, moves from oneness, duality, and diversity to relationships as potentials for giving and receiving love. The love we seek as connection, relation, and integration of the inner and outer experiences, perceptions, and worlds as opportunities for mutual growth. Accepting parents promises a child's future is free of excess struggle. So I was talking with one of the clients yesterday about this. That because her life was always hard, she doesn't have those extra, what do you call this? Advantages that most people who have safe, easy, good, happy, healthy future childhoods. And people just don't realize the many setbacks that people have due to this lack. So judgment and criticism reveals our internalized dialogues and our dashed hope. A tormented torrent can be undone with the right relationships, tools, and teachings. Relearning experiences that bring about acceptance and understanding of who we are and our values leads to acceptance and love of self and others. Uncovering our ego gift leads to loving our human family. Lessons in relating emphasize the unique ways we receive, perceive, and is inherent in and interrelated to the way we give back. Living in and moving through our heart, energy is the sense of I-ness that holds our ability to be of service and electrifies our being with confidence, pleasure, and trust. So psychologically, when we're balanced in the heart, we have this self-acceptance, self-love, unconditional love, open-armed and hearted, empathic, peaceful, altruistic, balanced way of expressing ourselves, of being towards others. In balance, we're cold, withdrawn, critical, antisocial, loveless, conditional love, betrayal, blaming, shaming, rejecting, abandoning, and just general unacknowledged grief. The guna that's present or that affects our heart is rajas and sattva. So we're moving into sattva. Sattva is calm and rajas is constant movement and change, excitation. The essence of life is in juice and joy of love. So, because love and the heart energy are expansive and ready to embrace and nurture, self-love is doing things with and for self and others, accepting all as perfectly imperfect. Acceptance, the doorway to being fully present, opens up the possibility to experience our true potential of sharing and loving, and the essence of who we really are, freely and fully. Action, skill, and mastery without love is powerless performance. So I will leave that here, and I will namaste to you from the depths of myself. And as we namaste, just come into the very deepest point of yourself. Meet yourself, greet yourself, land in yourself, trust in yourself. Take a deep breath in. Fill the heart with the love you yearn for, the love you already feel. And then meet the world as you lift up your head with that love. Make each intention, each action, each word, each thought come from that depth of self. So that every interaction is an exchange of the divine to the divine. Namaste.